Okay, now we're continuing on in the beginning of the Bible. We are now heading towards chapter 12. We're now entering the story of Abraham. Okay, we left off where Abraham is getting ready to go into Egypt. And he tells his wife Sarah, who's a beautiful woman, he tells her, look, when we go into Egypt, these men are going to want to kill me to have you. So let's tell them that we're brother and sister and dwell in the land, do what we got to do, whatever. So surely enough, they get there and they commended her to Pharaoh, like, yo, man, you should see this guy coming in. He got this woman with her. Man, she's beautiful. So he brought him in and stuff. Now Pharaoh, he sees Sarah, was like, oh yeah, he wants Sarah. So he's going to give Abraham all these, I keep calling him Abraham, but at this point, his name is Abram. And her name is not Sarah. Her name is Sarai. If I make that mistake, please forgive me. Anyway, so now Pharaoh is giving Abram all this stuff. Asses and oxen and sheep and manservants, maidservants and she-asses and camels, and giving them all this stuff. You know what I mean? And Sarai is up in the house with Pharaoh. So, and Abram don't know what's going on up in there. So he's all upset and stuff. And he prays unto the Lord. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh's house with great plagues because of Sarai. and you know what I mean? And he was like, he knew something was wrong. He said, go get this man Abram and bring him in here. And Pharaoh called him and said, what is this that thou hast done to me? Why do you tell me this is your wife? Isn't she your wife? You could have said that you told me that this was your sister. I may have taken her to be my wife. And behold, you would I could have told you I could have taken her as my wife and told you to go your way. You know what I mean? And Pharaoh and Abram was very honest and said, look, if you would have known that this was my wife, you would have killed me to have her. Okay? So that's why I told you that. You know what I mean? And Pharaoh was like, well, get your wife and get your things and get out and take your wife and be gone. Okay? Not realizing that he gave him all these things, these sheep and oxen and all these different things that he gave him. And now he sent him on his way, and he told his men, don't mess with this man. You let him and his wife go, Now, as they're traveling on, believe it or not, now Abraham's moving on. Now he got all these different sheep and oxen and all these things now. God has blessed Abram so much. I'm trying to see I'm hoping that I don't miss where God is blessing Abram with all the things that he's going to bless him. And considering Sarai, she could not have any children. She was barren and could not have any children. Remember that. Okay? All right, so we're now moving into chapter 13. The story of Abram begins in chapter 12. We're now in chapter 13. Okay? And when Abraham went out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had with Lot and all of them, they all went south. And Abraham was rich now in cattle and silver and gold. Yeah. He gained some things. But little did he know that this was the Lord fulfilling his promise to him, that you're going to be blessed. You're blessed. I'm going to bless you when you go out. I'm going to bless you when you come in. I'm going to curse those who hate you. I'm going to love those who love you, and so forth. But the big blessings, we're going to be reading about them coming up soon. Blessings where nations and great kings and kingdoms are going to be coming out of you. And to this very day, everybody wants to have their tithe and their connection to Abram. That will be Abraham then, but we'll see. Then I want to get ahead of myself. All right. Now, and then he went his way and journeyed from south to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, where he was earlier, between Ethel and Ai, unto the place of the altar which he had made at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Abram was now worshiping the Lord and praying to the Lord and talking to him. And Lot also, which went with Abraham, had flocks and herds. They're traveling on, and Abraham's flocks and all the stuff that he was given and all that, they're now growing up and having their own little puppies and kittens and flocks and different things. And Lot had his, and it got to the point where Lot's men, all their stuff was blending in with Abraham's. And it was like, man, keep your chickens over there, man. Well, y'all keep y'all donkeys over there. Da, 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 da. And Abraham said, Lot, come here, man. Look, the Lord put all this land out in front of us. The Lord put all this land out here in front of us. You go to the left, I'll go to the right. Or you go to the right, and I'll go to the left. But there's no reason for our families to be fussing and arguing amongst each other. And let there be no strife between us, I pray thee. You know what I mean? And the whole land is before to separate thee, I pray thee. You go to the left, I'll go to the right. Okay. Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, the land of Jordan. It was all watered and everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. There's a hidden little tidbit hint right there of the real Garden of Eden and where it was. I'm reading to you now from chapter 13, verse 10. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord Eden, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest towards Zoar. Okay, remember some of those names. They're going to be important in a minute. And Lot chose him all of the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves one from the other. Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, okay, and Lot dwelt in the cities down by the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. And it's very important to know here that and Lot went down here with his men, and he didn't have no wife or no families, just him and his men went down there. And he met a woman down there and got married down there and had 2 daughters. Okay. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. Okay. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, lift up thine eyes and look from the place where thou art northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all this land that thou seest, to thee I will give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make these again. Here's these blessings. All the time God's talking to Abraham, there are all these blessings. Here's the Lord telling him, I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. Now remember, Sarai can't have any children. She's born barren, can't have any children. But listen to these things that the Lord is telling Abram. Okay, and I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth. In other words, trillions. Okay, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it all to thee. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the land of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and he built there an altar unto the Lord. Abraham had a serious relationship with the Lord, and he always kept in with the Lord. Now that was 13. I'm coming into chapter 14. Okay, so in chapter 14, here is where some kings come together to fight Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? As came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Eleazar, and Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, they made war with Bera, the king of Sodom, and Birsha, king of Gomorrah. Make a long story short, they came in and took over Sodom and Gomorrah. And they took all their people and took them back towards their land. Okay, and took Lot. And now at this time, time had passed because Lot was he has a wife and 2 daughters. Okay, so time had passed, and he took all these people with them back to their land. Okay, and Abram found out. So of course, Abram, he prays to the Lord. They had a fight and all that, of course. And Abram, if I can remember, Abram got him at night. He waited till nighttime and went into their camp and got and destroyed everybody and got his family back. This is the end of them. This is those kings. And when they took everybody in Sodom and Gomorrah and took them back to their land. And the vale of Sodom was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there. Woo! And they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there he came, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and the brother of Anar, you know what I mean? And these were like some of Abram's friends. And Abram went and heard that his brother was taken captive, and he armed his trained servants and armed his trained servants born into his house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Yeah, and he divided himself against them, and he and his servants by night went and smote them and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. Okay, then he destroyed them and got everybody back and brought everybody back. Lot and all his family got it, and I'll read it. And he brought back all the goods and also brought, again, his brother Lot and his goods and the women also and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him in the valley of Sheba, which is the king's dale. And while they were out there doing their things, and the king of Sodom was so happy and this, that, and the other, because Abraham came and got them out of there and got them back and everything. And while they were all kind of like there, they're like resting and kind of getting ready to go head back to their back to Sodom and all that and Gomorrah, this man walks up, and him and his folk came in. This man's name was Melchizedek. Okay, and he was the king of Salem. Okay, and he brought bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. Okay, this Melchizedek. Okay, now a lot of you may have heard Melchizedek or whatever. Well, in the Bible, this is the first time he's introduced, where they were coming back from the war with the whole thing with Abraham, getting his nephew Lot and all them and the wives, and bringing them all back because they got taken down by these kings and all that. Well, Abraham destroyed these kings, and while they were taking a moment, kind of like getting ready to come back to their land, here comes this man with his people coming up, and this was Melchizedek. Okay, and it says, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thine hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, give me the persons, and you give me the persons, you could take the goods for yourself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up that mine hand unto the Lord, the God, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even unto the shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is not. In other words, I don't want none of your stuff. Lest thou shalt say that I made you rich, that you made me rich. Get out of here. Save only that which the young men have eaten. Other than what, let my men. This is they're talking about the spoil of all the things that happened after they destroyed these kings and all that. And the king of Sodom was like, here, man, you guys can have this and you can have that and you can take whatever you want. You know what I mean? You give me the men, you can have the rest. You know what I mean? And he was like, look, I don't want your stuff, man. So that one day you could pop up and say that you gave me these great riches and all that. The riches that I get are coming from the God of Abraham. Okay, you keep your stuff. Now, as far as my men are here, yeah, they can have something to eat. You can let them have something to eat. But that's all. You know what I mean? Okay. Okay. I hope that I'm making these stories understandable, easy and understanding for you. Now, when you hear all of this back, you should be able to say, oh, yeah, okay, got you. That's exactly the way it happened. Okay, yeah. All right, chapter 15. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Oh, here's the Lord. I think these might be the blessings. And Abraham said, Lord God, wilt thou give me? What will thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, behold. And Abram said, behold, to me thou hast given me no seed. And lo, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this shall not be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. Now, I'm going to pause here and say something very important. This is God making a promise to Abram. This is God making a promise to Abram. Remember that. This is so key. You'll understand why very soon. And as I keep reading, you're going to understand. And I'll come back and reveal it to you. But this is a promise. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, this is not thy heir. And this, in other words, this guy and these people in your house, and these even young people, because you don't have any children, they grow up and take over your stuff. This is not your heir, but he that shall come out of your own bowels shall be your heir. Even though Sarah was barren, she couldn't have any children. But don't worry, you're going to see how this is all going to unfold. Don't worry about that. And he brought him forth, abroad and said, this is God, the Lord telling Abram, look now toward the heaven. I'm sorry, I see one of these Bible translation problems again, but I'll just try to read through it. And tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. Okay. In other old Bibles, it says, the Lord took Abraham at night outside. And you got to figure, and see, this show you how important that is. You know that we didn't have anything such as a fluorescent light or light bulbs or lights or anything like that there. So you're seeing the sky at night and the Lord revealing it to him. So he's showing him everything. And it says, and I'm not reading from this Bible, from this little Bible here. I'm retelling you what I know that I read from Bibles that had a little bit more specific things in it. He told him, Abraham, go out. Count the stars. Abraham said, Lord, I can't count the stars. Stars, there are too many. And the Lord said, that's how many children I'm going to give you. He says, now, take up a handful of sand. Abraham did. He said, count the granulates. Abraham said, Lord, I can't. There are too many. He said, that's how many children I'm going to give you. Now, I'm going to pause right here. Now, let's see what they say over here. Now, you're going to see how all of that richness of it is going to be now shut real down, real succinct, so to make it real easy for you to read. And the Lord said, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham and said, this is not thine heir, but he that come out of thy bowels shall be thy heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward the heaven and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them, tell of the stars, and if thou art able to number them. And Abraham said, if thou shalt be able to number them. And he said, okay, maybe Abraham didn't say anything. According to this, it says, and he brought him out from abroad. He brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars, and if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall your seed be. That's it. And Abram believed the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Wait a minute. Am I not seeing the sand part of this? I just said to you what the Bibles say. Count the sand on count the stars. I can't because there are too many. That's how many children I'm going to give you. Take up a handful of sand. Count the granulates. I can't. That's how many children I'm going to give you. Okay? It doesn't even say about the sand here. It goes right from, so shall thy seed be, and he believed the Lord, and it counted to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of the Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby, this is Abram saying, Lord, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? How will I know all this? And he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all of these, and Abram took all of these and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. Oh, this is key right here. Woo. Okay, remember this darkness that fell upon Abram as he was sleeping. And the Lord, and he said unto Abram, know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom now they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Okay. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Okay. This was that in that darkness, that was the Lord revealing to Abram that the children of Israel were going to be taken captive into Egypt. and there for 400 and some odd years. Now, I'm telling you these things because the normal way of doing this is reading the whole Bible. And when you get to Egypt and Moses and all them, you'll understand, somebody might refer to, or the New Testament, they'll refer to and tell you what that was all about. I'm just telling you things as we go through it. I'm reading it, but I'm telling you what these things are all about. Let me give you another example. Let me go up here and check and make sure that that's correct. I'm having a hard time with these Bible translations. I am. I'm having a hard time with them because they take away the juice and the real serious meat of the Bible. I'm going back real quickly to chapter 12. I'm going to check. So this is when it first opens up and talks about Abram in the first place. And the Lord, chapter 12, verse 1. Now the Lord said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house and unto a land that I will show you. A land, and I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and I will make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Now, I thought it was missing. I knew it. I don't know how many of you heard this phrase. I'm going to give to you a land flowing with milk and honey. Where is it at? Missing. That's what he said to him. Okay, and I wanted to tell you real quickly that land, because Abram didn't know where this land, the Lord was, where is this land? Where am I supposed to go? And the Lord just told him, just go. And you figure whatever direction Abram was standing in, he walked in that direction. And the Bible, in those old Bibles, say that the very next day, Abram had the men ready, his family ready, Lot ready, Sarai ready, and everybody, and they was ready to go. And it's important that that's there because it's not here. It's important that that's there for another reason we're going to come to later on. We're going to be coming to another area, and it's going to be important where he told him to get his son Isaac, but I don't want to get in front of me. But here, that's missing here. It's missing. But anyway, I brought that to you because I was making the point that there's certain things that we're reading now that when you're reading it in the beginning, you don't see where this is all about. But if you keep reading, of course, we're going to know that land he's talking about is Jerusalem. It's Jerusalem. This is where he told him that's where this land's going to end up being. And I wanted to kind of make sure that you understood that. But because of these Bible translations, they took all that out of there. Take it. It didn't say Jerusalem though. I would just tell you that. You know what I mean? So that we'll know where he's going. Can you believe it? Bible translations. Be careful of them. Okay. So we're going to be coming to the next part coming up real soon. Keep an eye out. Okay.